Chapter 12. This is how it starts. Another members' night is upon us again when you're in the business of stealing and your victims start to feel like every day is just like the last you do your best to try and make some days special. How is a members' night special? Well, because unlike all the other nights where everyone loses a hell of a lot of money and goes home broker and bitching all the way, this time one or two of them will win a small cash prize. Sure, it's probably only a fraction compared to what they've lost over time, but hey, if a person is down on the ground being kicked repeatedly, any change in their routine is a welcome one. Out on the gaming floor, I fight my own little secret war against the mug punters and the man, one silent and hopefully deadly fart and one stolen dollar coin at a time. In the business of thievery, we're all trying to get a little more by doing a little less, case in point, Newman. While it's true that I generally resent all managers and supervisors at the club for being on a better pay grade, I usually also accept that it's because they're doing more and have more responsibilities. And with more responsibilities comes great pressure and expectations and stress. Hence, George's little vacation from the club. I try and picture George relaxing, having a drink at a bar or going to a strip club for some quality time, and all I see is him walking around the room, straightening up chairs, collecting empty glasses, and then talking to the punters in here as if he was working. Maybe some people are just incapable of relaxing. For today's shift, I was 10 minutes late because morning traffic was a bitch. And while most other supervisors would accept this and at the worst just dock me 15 minutes pay, Newman decides to dock me an hour to, in his words, make sure it doesn't happen again. Tardiness is how it starts, and we've got standards to maintain here at the club. Oh yeah, this is how it starts all right. But the real question I ask myself is where exactly does it all lead? I realized Newman was beginning to let the power go to his head when he started calling his own gaming staff meetings, forcing us to sit in a conference room while we discussed customer service, the standards of our coffees, the reserve sign policy, new machines we're getting in and how to talk them up, and the possibility of getting Keno in at the club. While not on the surface a clear and present danger to the freedom of the world as we know it, Keno is more or less a gateway in the gaming world. Once you get Keno, the next thing you know they're talking about tab and sports betting, and then bang, your bar's overrun by a small army of drunken hooligans throwing down bets on the fucking NRL and punching on because New South Wales scored a try and it wasn't awarded to them. And that kind of shit I really don't need, although it could be fun to start our own betting league on the outcome of these fights. At another of his meetings, Newman brings up the possibility of changing the staff uniform from the all-black outfits we currently have to black vests with white shirts and possibly bow ties. Naturally, this isn't something I can let occur because as depressing as it is to wear all black to work, wearing a vest and looking like a monkey in a suit is an infinitely far worse fate. So I pepper Newman with questions at the meeting. Does it have to be a black vest? I begin. I have a red vest at home. Also, will we have to pay for the vest, or is it something the club will provide us with? And what about the sizes? Because I don't want to get one that's too small and then be stuck with it every shift and uncomfortable. And if we do have to buy them ourselves, will we be able to claim them on tax? And Kate, seeing the game at play, decides to jump in. What fabric will they be? Some fabrics tend to shrink more in the wash, and some are really tricky to clean, and some you just can't dry clean at all, and it ends in a drawer with Newman putting this particular plan on the back burner. For now. But the victory is short-lived as I talk to the Big M today and learn some disturbing facts, other than her latest cholesterol count and blood pressure. It would seem that George is taking a bit more time in his long service leave/recovery than people had expected. I attribute this to a number of factors. Number one, that the poor bastard hasn't really had a break or vacation from the club for as long as I've known him. Number two, that as previously established, he is simply unable to relax. And number three, the possibility that the club is footing the bill for his time away. If it was me and I was being paid to be away from this dump, then hell, I'd be stretching it out as long as possible too. Christine would call up to check on me because she likes to give the false impression that she knows what's going on from time to time. Oh, hello, Christine, I'd say. Yes, the recovery is still going pretty slow. Yes, watching the Big M eat Rachel that time was a shock to us all, I think. But then maybe we haven't been feeding her enough lately? Can you excuse me a moment? No, Jorge, I said Dom Perignon, you know, the good stuff? And some crystal for me and my lady friends here. So hard to find good help these days. Where were we? Well, Christine would reply nervously, I know you've got PTSD from that incident, Mike. But, well, it has been 3 years now and... Really? I'd say, somewhat astonished. 3 years already? Well, I suppose we mark time differently in the Bahamas. Excuse me again, Nadia. Nadia, is it time for my 3 o'clock massage, seaweed bath and spa treatment? No. Oh, okay. See what I mean, Christine? No concept of time at all. As I have to half listen to the Big M's health worries and her intermittent complaints about her dead husband, I begin to think of a way out for me. Maybe, just maybe I could create a dating profile for her on Oasis and introduce her to the new love of her life. Besides bowlfuls of spaghetti bolognese, chocolate mousse, and 12 plates of food a day anyway. On the plus side, it would give her something positive to talk about for a change, and having seen a lot of profiles on the site, I'm pretty sure the Big M could squeeze into the average or little extra weight category, since with growing waistlines nationwide, average now means the average weight of a humpback whale. Of course, I'd have to weigh up the Big M's gratitude at finding love and the possible reward against the club's wrath at losing their favourite whale, thus called, because it's the term for a high roller, not because said patron weighs the same as the title character from Moby Dick. The Big M slips a tenner into my hand as I write her out a cash ticket, and it's moments like these that I forget about all the extra attention and ass-kissing we're meant to provide her, and the fact that one of these days I'll probably need a heavy vehicle license to operate the crane necessary to get the Big MM to the club. I sneak around to a camera blind spot out of habit and slip the 10 in my pocket, and as I do so, I spot Edith playing a machine by herself, lost in her own little world. She looks up and smiles at me. I say hello and ask her how she is, and she's screwing her face up again, and I know she hasn't heard me at all. Would you like to be cremated or just buried? I ask. Nope, still nothing. Edith toys with her hearing aid then. What's that, Mike? She asks me, and I smile easily. I said, would you like a creamy coffee? Like a cappuccino, or have you had one already? No, I think I've had 1 or 2 already, thanks, Mike, Edith says, and returns her attentions to the screen. Edith then begins playing from her same old song list, health worries and her granddaughter's upcoming recital. And it's times like this that I regret not being in an industry that appreciates my witty one-liners. I could tell Edith that this recital has been about a decade in the making, and that if she doesn't come out and nail a Chopin violin concerto, I'd be fucking disappointed, but I'm sure she probably wouldn't hear me anyway. Speaking of things taking a while, what the hell is taking Newman so long that he spends as much time as he does in his little office? Maybe he's calling a tuxedo rental company to inquire about our new uniforms, and next thing you know, all the customers will be wanting their cappuccinos, shaken not stirred. But more likely, he's just in there to dodge work and come up with new ways to assert his power and dominance over the rest of us minions. Tonight's a quiet night, all things considered. Maybe there's 20-odd people in here, so Kate and I have it covered. But I hope he doesn't intend on pulling this shit during the members' night. Angry Joe makes a reappearance tonight, and from the look of him, his time away has done little for his temper and overall attitude. Mike, to the cashier. Kate's voice comes through the sound system, and I move away from Angry Joe as he sits there stabbing at the buttons with his pudgy fat fingers and staring at the screen as if his intent gaze alone will somehow cause the reels to spin in the correct alignment and trigger the jackpot. Kate too seems a little frustrated as I approach her at the cashier's counter, and my thoughts turn immediately to Newman. The bastard. What's he done now? Are you okay? I ask her straight away, and Kate just shakes her head, holding up a sheet of paper as she does so. Newman says I'm not doing well as a cashier, Kate explains. He says I'm not balancing all the time for one thing. Nobody balances all the time, I counter quickly. There are variables and things happen. What else? He says my paperwork isn't up to scratch and that if I don't improve, he'll take me off cashiering and have someone else do it. I understand and share Kate's frustrations at once. The cashiering shifts are generally the longer ones. It's why I aim to pick up as many of these shifts a week as possible. It just doesn't make sense, I tell Kate. If you need to improve at cashiering at all, then obviously you should be spending more time doing it and not less. You'd think so, wouldn't you? She replies darkly. Oh, one other thing. Newman says he might be sending one of us home early. Again, the thought flashes through my mind. This is how it starts. Little cuts here, little jabs there, little changes to uniforms and policies, and before you know it, bam. The fourth fucking Reich of Newman will be upon us. After hearing this news, the rest of my time out on the floor is pretty much meaningless, which isn't to say that during the other shifts we're pondering the cure for cancer or racing against Julius and Russia and the US to develop cold fusion. It's just that when you know you could be sent packing at any time, there's really no incentive to do anything other than the absolute bare fucking minimum to get by. And so it is with us tonight. And I find myself cursing management, the GM and Christine in particular, for being so oblivious to how Newman is screwing things up for everyone. Even George for taking time off because if he hadn't, we'd never have been saddled with this insufferable, fat, lazy prick in the first place. Next thing I know it, I've given my keys back to Kate at the cashier and heading out the front door to my car 4 hours earlier than I expected. Bastards. Just as I open my car, I hear a hey, and it takes me a little while to respond. Hey, Mike, the voice says again, and I turn around to spot Luke sitting in his car with the window down and drinking a beer. You're not working tonight, are you? I ask Luke, and he shakes his head. So, how come you came in then? Think I'm just going to quit, Luke says, and takes a swig of beer. This shit is just getting too much for me now. At least with the cafe I had some regular shifts and I knew what my days and hours would be from week to week. Here I've got no idea what's going on. I start a shift and it might be 8 hours or it might be 4 or 5. And that Newman bastard's hired 2 new people, so I've been cut down. Yeah, I know, I reply in resignation. We all have. You, me and Kate's just told me she might not be cashiering anymore thanks to that prick. See, Luke says and shrugs. The guy can get away with basically whatever he wants because all the other managers are too busy with the restaurant and their functions and events and stuff, and they've just left gaming all up to him for some bloody reason. It's like he knows exactly what to do to piss us all off and screw with us, and we don't know anything about him at all. But just then, as I'm thinking it over, I reach into my pocket and take out my little black book. Well, that's not entirely true, I tell Luke and show it to him. After all, I know he drives a grey Nissan Pulsar and I know what the number plate is. Say, how many beers do you have there? A little while later, I make a dramatic entrance through the automatic doors as I run up to the reception desk where security is sitting, out of breath and panting a little, as though I've just run a 100-metre dash. He looks up at me from his phone, where he's no doubt trying to break his Candy Crush high score, sees me, and looks at me a little puzzled. Can never remember this name off the top of my head. Was it Pradesh or Pradeep? Something like that. I'll go with Pradeep. Mike, Pradeep says questioningly, how are you, friend? And then he returns his fixed gaze back to the screen of the phone. Not good, Pradeep, I say and shake my head. There's been a bit of an incident in the car park. You need to come quickly and take a look at this. Uh-huh, Pradeep says half-heartedly. Yes, just give me one moment. And again he screws up his face in concentration. He must be really going for the high score today. Well, it's just that someone smashed a windscreen of someone's car in the car park, I say, and he freezes now. But don't worry. I'm sure Newman won't be too harsh on you if he finds you here at your desk playing that game after this has happened. I mean, we all need to relax at work now, don't we? The effect on him is pretty much immediate, as he seems to turn a bit green and sickly around the face, and all but throws the phone down at the desk. He's out the door and running to the car park, and it's the fastest I've ever seen him move. If only Pradeep were this quick on his feet and swift to act when the mug punters are arguing and getting violent at the bar, maybe Julius could have avoided that nasty headbutt. Oh well. Que sera sera, as the French say, which I believe roughly translated means, what's done is done. I think so anyway. So the three of us are soon out there in the car park, Pradeep breathing heavily, clearly exhausted from his 20-metre jog, the useless prick, with his hands in his pockets, looking down at the ground and then up at the car, somewhat guiltily from time to time. It's almost as if he can see his job security going out the window as surely as that beer bottle smashed into Newman's. And standing next to the guy, I have to say I don't feel an ounce of sympathy for him at the moment. For one thing, doing security at a pokie venue is hardly a physically taxing job. They're mostly at the reception desk answering the phones or playing games on their mobile. When they do have to move around, it's to do a few laps of the car park or check in from time to time to make sure the mug punters aren't literally at each other's throats because someone took someone else's machine. Like I said, hardly a taxing job. Security-wise, ironically enough, they re the ones who are generally in the least danger. Because if a pokie place is going to get robbed, it's the cashier who ends up with a gun in their face, not the security guard. Newman sighs dramatically then as he looks at the smashed windshield of his car. Let's take this from the top once more, Mike, he tells me, and pinches the bridge of his nose between his thumb and finger, screwing up his eyes as he shakes his head in frustration. I came out to the car park just after I'd finished my shift, I explain. I looked up and saw a figure moving between the street lights with a bottle in one hand. Next thing I knew, this person had smashed the bottle into the windscreen of a car. They ran and got into another car and sped off before I could do anything. It was dark. All I saw was that it was a sedan. Red, maybe, or black. No, I'm pretty sure it was red. Should I stick around and give some kind of statement to the police about what I saw? I ask Newman, and it takes a while for him to respond. He seems pretty pissed off about the car. Good. No, Newman says as he looks up at me from the smashed windscreen. If you didn't get a clear look at the guy or the car, then it's not going to do us much good, is it, Mike? Fuck, Newman spits then. I told management that they should have put video cameras in the car park. It was only a matter of time before something like this happened. I know I should probably be paying attention, but all I can think about at the moment is Newman trying to drive this thing home at 3 a.m. window down and head hanging out of it as he tries to see the road. It's been raining, so the roads are slick. A bug flies into his eye and he blinks as he skids. A second's loss of control as the car spins into the oncoming lane and the path of a semi-trailer. My imagination takes me to the cemetery again then, but this time I'm doing the eulogy as I look down at the coffin before me. Management is all in attendance. The GM, Christine, and a few other guys whose names I can never remember. Kate, Luke, and all the gaming staff are there too, but the difference is they keep checking their watches and their phones. Everyone's got somewhere to be these days. I'll keep this quick, I say, because I know there's a party to get to. Newman was only with us a short time. I pause and hear someone cough, and the cough sounds like thank God. And then I continue. All the same, in the brief time he was with us, he had quite an impact, especially on the staff. I pause again, and I hear Kate cough, and then cough out the word asshole. But there's no need for everyone to look sad. I've just had word from the hospital and the truck driver's fine. He's going to make a full recovery. I'm shaken from my imaginings as Newman swears again as I look back at the shattered windscreen. Ah, fuck, Newman mutters mostly to himself. If I catch the prick... Newman's voice trails off as I see him shaking his fist. Should have asked Luke to take out the headlights too. Now that would be a bitch to drive home. I'm just glad you're okay, I say in my best falsely comforting voice. I mean, if you'd been out here at the time, who knows what might have happened? I can't help but picture Newman on the ground next to his car as Luke and I lay into him with fists and feet as we both shout out, "Cut my fucking shifts, will you bastard?" A short while after this, I find myself cruising down a few streets and then pulling up near a kebab place just off the road where Luke is waiting. "How'd it go?" he asks, and then bites into a kebab as he sits at a table nearby. Better than expected, I reply. Of course, in the future we'll have to be more careful. The car park has no video cameras. Newman said so himself, and no one knew you were there tonight because you never went inside the club. That and security was too busy trying to smash his Candy Crush score to pay attention to a smashed windscreen or two. It's hard to hear anything really over the noise of the bloody machines, Luke says. But what do you mean by the future, Mike? Do you want to do this again? No, I say, shaking my head. Not this exactly. I'm saying we have to think these things out more. I don't know how much longer Newman's going to be with us, but I do know he's going to make our lives miserable while he's here. Why should we make his time any easier? Sounds good to me, Luke agrees, and so we talk about things. I, for my own part, am just frustrated at the changing culture in the club since Newman's arrival. Luke is confident that since he's always been in good with the boss at his cafe job, he can always go back there if he decides he doesn't want to work at the club anymore. Members' night comes too soon, that time of the month that, like a werewolf with indigestion and a hangover under a full moon, leaves people cranky, moody and emotional and almost impossible to deal with. All of the regulars are here, and a few I haven't seen in some time. Even my veteran friend has come down to see what all the fuss is about. Kate is pretty much run off her feet from the start of the night. As every man and their dog rushes up to collect their tickets simultaneously, Luke pumps out coffees at record speed to keep the bastard satisfied, and I patrol the floor. It's times like this, when we're tested to our limits in high-pressure moments, that you really see a manager's leadership skills and how they will cope with it. What I see, however, doesn't exactly fill me with confidence. Because, apart from occasionally poking his head out the office door to issue Kate more money at the cashier's counter since she's going through quite a lot quickly, Newman seems barricaded in his little office as if he's trying to ride out a zombie apocalypse. Perhaps not that much of an exaggeration at the moment. Fat prick, Luke spits as I carry a tray of coffee mugs and plates past him at the coffee machine. I haven't seen him come out all night to give us a hand. What the fuck is he doing in there all that time anyway? And where the hell's Christine and everyone else? Christine's at another club, I reply as I start washing dishes and mugs. There's some function upstairs, so all the other managers are up there. We're stuck with Newman for now unless... Unless what? Luke asks, and I grin as I hear a familiar voice complaining loudly. I'm going to do what I do best, I say, and leave the bar to go back to the gaming floor. Sure enough, Vula is also doing what she does best, being a pain in the ass and starting arguments, although this time she started one with the Big M. As I watch the two ladies go at it, I find myself drifting into my imagination and see a referee standing between the two feuding ladies as they square off inside of the gaming area. In the blue corner, weighing in at 180 pounds, he says into a microphone, we have the undisputed grudge match champion, the beast from Greece, Vula, he says, drawing out her name, and Vula holds up a fist covered by a boxing glove. In the red corner, weighing in at a deadly 350 pounds, the terror from Tokyo, the woman who's had all she can eat and is still hungry for victory, I give you the Big M. And the Big M, in her bulky, unfashionable dress, just lifts up her big meaty arms and roars for the spectators to hear. Now, ladies, the referee says to them both as they step in close against one another, I want a good, clean fight. The two women tap gloves, and then the bell rings. Vicious left jabs by the Big M, a commentator is saying. Not the fastest I've seen by a long shot, but you've got to think if she connects with one of them. There's certainly a lot of weight behind that punch, and the Big M does connect with one. Vula is left dazed and confused for just a moment, then she's back to swinging a few punches of her own. Well, this is certainly quite a matchup we're seeing here tonight at the club. A laugh, and then another voice joins in. Certainly, Jerry. Vula has the speed advantage, but... Oh, wait a moment. What's this? The Big M has her in a sleeper hold. Can you imagine the force behind that? Vula's trying desperately to escape the hold, but the Big M is grabbing on tight. This could be all over. You can see the beads of sweat dripping down those huge, meaty arms of hers as she looks ready to squeeze the life out of her. Then I blink, and reality, cold, boring and frustrating, blows through me like a sudden gust of wind. The two women are standing next to the one machine, bickering over which of them had reserved it. Oh God, somebody just kill me now. I put the sign on and I went out for a smoke, Vula explains. And she come up and start playing. It been only 5 minutes, not even Mike. You check. The Big M, of course, not wanting to be outshouted, almost explodes. It's been half an hour, Vula. You can't expect to leave something there all night and just come back to it whenever you want. She actually grabs at her large chest a moment then, and I'm a bit worried for a time. I mean, if the Big M has a heart attack, well, the PS4 comes out soon. I really need those tips. Let me have a look at the machine, I say, and work my usual magic with the keys, bringing up a display screen and looking at the last games played. Uh-huh, I say. It seems the last game was played 2 minutes ago and the game before that was played about, let's see here, about half an hour ago, just like Millie said. That is, Vula starts to say. That not right can't be. I wasn't even gone 10 minutes. Your machine, she not right. I want to speak to the manager. And I can't help a small smile crossing my lips then. Of course, I tell Vula. I'd be only too happy to get him for you and leave to do just that, thinking to myself, really fucking happy to get the lazy prick off his fat ass. As Newman comes out of his hidey hole in the office to deal with their dispute, I'm called over by one of the girls at the bistro. Mike, she says, we have a few plates of food for you at gaming. They've just been cooked up. Oh, I say, and realize I'll have to start carrying them around. Thanks. Good to see the new guy out on the floor, she says then, instead of in here pinching food from us. Doing what? I ask. He's been in the office the whole time. Then a thought occurs to me. Hasn't he? She shakes her head disappointedly. He sneaks out the back to our kitchen here and grabs food like we don't know it's him. That bastard, that asshole, I'm thinking as I take the tray and thank her. Here we are busting our asses and getting slammed, and there he is in the office, fattening himself up and taking food from the kitchen. If he keeps this up, he could give the Big M a run for her money in a sumo fight. So this is how it starts then.